child utterly alone. An orphan. He's delirious with hunger. Close by, adults are eating, but they ignore him. Walk past him. He lives in North Korea, one of the most secretive states in the world. A little girl with bare feet, soiled trousers, grubs for scraps of food in the mud. She lives in North Korea, a country of 22 million. Up to 3 million of its people have starved to death in the last 10 years. More than 40% of North Korean children now suffer from chronic malnutrition, says a 2003 UNICEF report. UN organisations now warn of another major crisis, with 3 million more people at risk. Since 1998, secret video, shot by North Koreans, has made its way out of the country. They want to show the world what's really going on in their homeland. The 29-year-old man shooting this video could face execution if he's caught. He goes by the name An Chol, but he must hide his real identity.
When I hear someone shouting, I think he's recognized me. When I see a policeman, I'm terrified he's coming to get me. It's very frightening. But I have to do it. I have to do it so my people can live.
An Chol first escaped from North Korea in 1997 by swimming across this river to China after both his parents died of starvation. But since he escaped, he slipped back several times past the border guards with his hidden camera. He's back in North Korea now, undercover. His mission, to film what the last Stalinist dictatorship, the world's most secret state, doesn't want outsiders to know. For An Chol's safety, we can't name this North Korean town. There's food here on the black market, but for an orphan child with no money, there are only crumbs. The boys are fending for themselves. One scoops up leftovers, spilled rice, corn, foraging with a plastic bag. An Chol films soldiers and other adults with money eating. They ignore the hungry children. There may be 200,000 street children in North Korea, many of them orphans, according to the Korean Institute for National Unification in South Korea. A boy picks clean a fish bone that an adult has thrown away. North Korea claims it hands out food to the orphan street children, but eyewitnesses say that's a lie, that the state has abandoned them and pretends they don't exist. This boy is so weak with hunger, he can barely speak to An Chol. The mud-caked town, like most of North Korea, is sealed off from all foreigners, even aid workers. If it wasn't for An Chol, nobody outside the country would ever know what's happening here. I've applied to come to North Korea too, to get both sides of the story. I'm going as a tourist, since journalists are forbidden to go here. Unlike An Chol, if they catch me, they'll probably just throw me out. I've joined one of the few small groups of Westerners allowed in by North Korea each year. I'll get the official, authorised tour of this country, likely to be quite different from what An Chol will find. Posing as my companion, camera woman Anna Roberts. Our guide, his job to censor what we see and hear. But I'll be curious to see if there are cracks in the facade that North Korea presents to the outside world. Our journey starts in Pyongyang, North Korea's capital, like a multi-million-dollar film set. We're taken around its monuments, built at crippling expense. They glorify North Korea's founding father, hand-picked by Stalin, Kim Il-sung, and the son who succeeded him in 1994, Kim Jong Il. Their big brother-like faces stare down on the city's streets and workplaces. They're everywhere. It's eerie. Can I take your picture? Can I take a picture of this?
This building was unveiled in 1982.
And this is taller than the one in France, is that right? Taller than the Arch de
10
Triomphe?
meters higher than.
10 meters higher.
Yes.
Big. We get a stream of propaganda. Image here is everything. At night on state television, the current leader, Kim Jong Il, in his many roles. Kim Jong Il, dispenser of wisdom to the workers. Kim Jong Il, commander-in-chief of the army. Kim Jong Il, the dear leader. But little in Pyongyang is what it seems. I'm told it's a bustling metropolis, but the streets are deserted. I'm told its people are industrious, but we don't see anyone working. There's a fun fair here, but no one's having fun. Sweeping boulevards, but hardly any cars. No one's home. It all feels like an expensive show. Even our hotel is virtually empty. It's a 46-story skyscraper, but most of the floors are vacant. Our hotel is on an island in the middle of the river that runs through the heart of Pyongyang. We've been told we can wander around this little bit of the island, but we're not allowed to go into the city unaccompanied. We're not allowed to go hungry either. 7-course meal, courtesy of the North Korean state. It was very nicely prepared, little table decorations made out of carrot and spring onions and tomatoes. But I've seen Unchol's pictures. What I'm seeing is unlike anything he's filmed outside the capital. We're taken to dress rehearsals for the parade so loved by the dear leader. The children here are the sons and daughters of the elite. We're not allowed to talk to them. These children are all from the showpiece capital. They look happy, well cared for, well fed. These are the images of children that Kim Jong Il would like us to take home with us.
야, 이거 뭐 먹는다, 야.
In another part of the country, Unchol again risks arrest to secretly question and film another little orphan girl.
야, 너 집에 없니? 야, 어? 집에 없니? 어? 대답아야. 말 못하니, 너? 너 집이 없어? 너 아버지 엄마 없냐? 어? 아버지 엄마 없니? 크게 말해라, 야. 아버지 엄마 어디가? 어? 어?
She's small for her age, stunted. Her hair is turning a lighter colour, a sign of malnutrition.
학교야, 몇 살이야, 너? 어? 몇 살이라고? 10살? 어? 아, 이물 못 먹는다니. 야, 그. 얘들아.
The climax of my strictly controlled tour, the Children's Palace. Here we watch performances by children the dear leader has decided to favour. We've been told today that children in North Korea are seen as little kings and queens, that Kim Il-sung believed they were the future of the country, that Kim Jong Il wants them to know that they will always be at the bosom of the party. It's time to leave Pyongyang. Time to join Chol, the undercover cameraman, who has gathered very different images of North Korea's children. I'm going to meet him on the Chinese side of the North Korean border. That is, if he manages to get out alive. We're here at the River Tumen, the border between North Korea and China. It's not that deep, not that fast-flowing, but it's a treacherous escape route for thousands of North Koreans seeking refuge from tyranny and starvation. We've arrived in the border area between North Korea and China. It's a very dangerous place for the North Korean refugees. It's not even wise for us to spend too much time in one place. There's a good chance that we'd be picked up by the police and interrogated. It's illegal to film at the border, even from the Chinese side. But Chol and a small network of sympathizers have managed it. These are their pictures. The North Korean border guards watch the river closely. They hide in bunkers set in the bank. Their orders: shoot to kill. The Chinese authorities deport all the refugees they catch. Hundreds are forced back to North Korea every week. This busload of refugees face beatings, even execution. Any locals caught helping the refugees are threatened with fines and imprisonment. Chol's network film people escaping and those who fail. I've arranged to meet Chol on the Chinese side of the border. I want to see his latest pictures. But he fails to turn up. I don't know why, but it worries me. He should have left North Korea by now. I wait for him in the Chinese border town of Yanji, where ethnic Koreans have lived for centuries. The refugees try to hide amongst them. The air is heavy with paranoia and suspicion. Journalists are not wanted here, so again, I must play the tourist. While I wait for Chol, I'm eager to talk to the North Korean refugees, find out what's really going on in a country closed off from the rest of the world. But they're frightened. They could be deported just for speaking to me. One family agrees, so long as their identities stay hidden. Their father tells me what happened before they escaped from North Korea.
Many people died of hunger each day. Many died. I saw them. We saw a whole family dead under a bridge. The father thought it would be better to die than to live on. So they went outside and deliberately froze to death.
Each community had 20 families, 18 to 20 families. Out of that, 5 or 6 families died from each community. They just died away. They were alive one day, and they were gone the next. They died like that. They died of hunger.
Their daughter tells me what happened to 3 of her school friends.
The friends who died, Both their mother and father had died already, so they went begging. Later, they died.
Desperation has led many North Korean orphans to risk crossing the river to China. Children wade some of the way, then swim. In winter, it's freezing. Only the strongest ones make it. I want to meet some of the North Korean children who've made it across to China. There's a gang of teenagers who look about 12, but are 4 or 5 years older. How long have you been here?
이거 얼마나 있었는데요?
이제 5일 됩니다. 5일 됩니다.
5일?
네.
5 days?
5 days? They agree to show me where they're living. Through the back streets, we arrive at a building site. The boys' home on an upper floor is off limits in daytime. They climb in the dark up a half-built staircase. It's a sheer drop. One full step and they've had it. The boys are frightened, not least because there was a major roundup of refugees last month. 300 North Koreans were sent from here back across the border. The boys spend their nights in this construction site. They spend their days trying to catch money, trying to catch clothes from the locals. Many of them say they crossed the river more than once to take money back to their parents in North Korea. Those of them who still have parents, that is. I travel further along the river to another Chinese border town. Anchol has still not appeared, but friends of his helped me find more North Korean orphans. This boy's parents starved to death. In a matter-of-fact way, he tells me something that sounds incredible. Hunger has pushed some in North Korea into cannibalism.
If you bought human flesh without knowing it, it was alright. But those people who killed someone and sold the flesh, or ate the flesh, those people were shot to death. Of course it was sold in secret. It was sold as pork. I understand human flesh tastes like that. So you don't know what it is. You eat it without knowing it's human flesh. You're so hungry, you just eat it.
His story is not unique. I'm shown pictures drawn by another North Korean teenager in hiding in China. His name is Gil-soo. He draws his mother gathering tree bark and grass. There's nothing else to eat. She gets ill. He draws a man eating a snake and a rat. He also draws this, human flesh sold in a North Korean market. Again and again, refugees speak to me of this.
A friend told me he saw human flesh being sold in the market. He himself saw someone being arrested for selling it. There are many cases of killing people and eating the flesh.
To the Chinese just over the border, the idea that North Koreans could murder people for food is disturbing. Food is plentiful here. These children are well fed. We've spent 4 days at the border and still no word from Anchol. We were supposed to meet by now. We have to keep moving. so we look like tourists. We could get arrested for filming across the border, but we find a secluded vantage point for our zoom lens. This is Busan, one of North Korea's largest industrial cities, estimated population 200,000. But it looks like a ghost town. The mine is abandoned. The factories are shut down. The only sign of life is the army, practicing martial arts. North Korea has officially recognized its food crisis, but not the crisis in its economy. By most estimates, industrial activity has ground to a halt. A man who's escaped from Busan just the week before. He tells me why all commerce there has stopped.
To eat, to live, the poorest classes have stripped down the factories to sell the parts. The factories have been taken apart bit by bit and have stopped running. 70 to 80% of the factories are dead.
He also says children are still starving.
The orphan children are wandering about. They are starving. Some are dying. They are so weak from hunger. They are lying on the streets. You can see they are starving. The starving children were causing trouble. So the government took over a hostel and put children there.
His story fits with other reports about the so-called hostels. Last time An Chol was in North Korea, he snatched a picture of one of the hostels, detention centers for homeless children. This is not an orphanage, he said. Children are denied food and medical care and deliberately left to die. An Chol found a boy whose mother and younger brother had starved to death. The boy said he'd been forced into a hostel.
거기서 밥 많이 주니? 한 숟갈 두 숟갈씩? 삼층에서 떨어져. 나오 갔다고. 죽은 것도 있니? 나오겠다고 거기서 떨어져서. 너네 못 나가게 하니? 가다나?
The boy's older brother was still inside the hostel. I talked to a family of refugees who escaped from another part of North Korea. The mother tells me of a girl from their hometown forced into a hostel the year before.
She'd been put in a place where these children are housed. She didn't get any exercise. She saw other children dying, so she ran away. This girl was about 9. 9. She looked miserable from hunger. There are still many children suffering. I've seen it with my own eyes.
A day later, we're on our way to our most difficult meeting yet. All the North Koreans we meet here in China face heavy punishment if they're sent back. The refugee we're about to meet would almost certainly be executed for talking to me. We're taken by An Chol's friends to a secret location, a one-room shack, and a very frightened man. He's a North Korean farmer, but the crop he was ordered to grow won't feed starving children. He calls it drug tobacco, yaktambe. in English, opium.
The flowers were white and round. We carve it 3 times with a knife, like this. If you do, I've done it myself, the resin comes out very white. You pick it with a knife and put it on a piece of glass. That is pure resin. There's a place where it's processed by the state. It's processed 3 times and made into a drug.
US military officials have estimated North Korea's revenue from illegal drugs is between $500 million and $1 billion a year. Congress's North Korea Advisory Group estimates North Korea is using up to 17,000 acres of prime agricultural land to grow not food but opium, to be processed and sold as heroin. Profits go to party officials and the military, not to feeding starving people.
In Jinghae, North Hamgyong, the ektambe was brought in along with the potato seeds. And the farmers were told to get rid of all other crops and plant the ektambe in the best soil. I knew it was bad, but it was the state's affair. We don't interfere with the state. I just produce what I'm told to produce.
And this was definitely for the government. It wasn't just something you were doing yourselves.
Yes, that's correct.
He's risking his life in the hope that by talking to us, he might change something. There's still no sign of An Chol. He's still inside North Korea. Waiting with me by the border, the man who first gave him a secret camera. The leader of RENC, a group of exiles based in Japan who are opposed to the North Korean government.
Ancho and myself want to bring about democracy by getting rid of Kim Jong Il. The only way to achieve that is for us to let the world know what's really going on.
Are you worried about An Chol now and where he is?
Yes, of course, I'm worried. If he's found even possessing the camera, that would be enough for him to be tortured, sent to a prison camp, and maybe executed. It is very dangerous.
South Korean intelligence sources say that because of An Chol's secret filming, North Korea's leader, Kim Jong Il, has ordered that he be found and exterminated. I've been on the border 8 days now. No tourist would hang around this long. We could be arrested. I'm reluctant to leave without An Chol, but I must. I head for the place North Koreans can only dream of going, the South. South Korea, North Korea's capitalist neighbor and staunch ally of the United States. But my thoughts are still in the north. An Chol, the undercover cameraman, must still be inside. I'm worried he's become one of North Korea's 200,000 political prisoners. I've come to Seoul, where some refugees from the north have managed to flee and start new lives. But some are haunted by their memories of the North's prison camps, where 1 in every 100 North Koreans is held captive. These 2 North Koreans survived living in the camps Kim Jong Il's regime claims simply don't exist. An Yong-chul escaped from a maximum security camp, not just for men, but for whole families.
It occupied such a large area. There were about 50,000 prisoners.
His camp was in Huryong, just over the border from China, hidden behind these mountains. Ahn drew detailed pictures of the families he saw there.
Many of them didn't even know why they'd been brought there. It was a family camp where they were imprisoned because of something their fathers, husbands or sons had done wrong.
Ahn has first-hand experience of the camp's brutality, but he wasn't a prisoner, he was a guard.
As a prison guard, you couldn't treat the prisoners as human beings. If you did, you'd get punished. If anyone resisted or tried to run away, we could shoot to kill.
Ahn confirms reports by refugees that the guards are rewarded for killing escaping prisoners. Sometimes they'd order them to climb the fence just so they could shoot them. Women, he says, are sexually abused by the guards. If the woman becomes pregnant, she's the one in trouble. Ahn says pregnant women were sent to another part of the family camp.
It was a horrible place where women and men are killed very cruelly. Many women died this way. Some of the methods are too horrible to repeat. I saw a woman's body, not long dead. Her face had sunk here and there, and her abdomen was crawling with maggots. The unusual thing was that a shovel had been chopped up. It was so repulsive, I quickly covered her body with soil.
Children also suffer brutal treatment. Beatings. Hard labour. Ahn has seen them savaged by guard dogs. What he says echoes the accounts of many former prisoners. Kang Chul-hwan is a child of North Korea's prison camps. He was just 9 years old when he and his family were sent to the camp at Yeodok. He's haunted by memories of prisoner executions. He and other children were forced to watch, even take part.
You were ideologically unsound if you didn't join in throwing stones. There was no other option. Stones would pile up under their feet and the skin peeled away, bleeding. The bodies shook for about 3 minutes until they took their last breath. You saw it so often, you got used to it. It was like seeing a dog beaten.
Why do you think that whole families are sent to the prison camps?
That was the most effective way. There hasn't been a single demonstration in North Korea for the last 50 years. If you know your family will be taken away, who would dare demonstrate?
I leave South Korea deeply disturbed by these stories and by Ahn Chol's continued absence. His images of starving children haunt me. Kim Jong Il's regime acknowledges a hunger problem, but says floods, drought, and economic sanctions are to blame. North Korea has received more food aid per head than almost any country in the world. But the government has been unwilling to let many aid agencies see just where their aid is going. Nor has it granted access to places where Anchol has filmed people starving. Some charities, Doctors Without Borders and Oxfam amongst them, have pulled out of North Korea, angry and frustrated. Action Against Hunger withdrew aid when it saw children starving on the streets and in hostels whom they were not allowed to save.
Our main frustration is not access to the population and the clear idea that the food is not going to the right people.
The United States has expressed serious concern about North Korea's handling of international aid. Action Against Hunger and other agencies say it's being withheld from those who need it most. They say it's going instead to the army and the party faithful, that there's deliberate diversion.
There is evidence of diversion, well-organized diversion. A part of the population have been sacrificed by their own government.
Kim Jong Il still expects aid from the West as the food crisis worsens. Although the United States has cut fuel aid to North Korea, it is continuing to provide food. But this secretly filmed shipment of international aid appears to have been diverted. Corn from the US. Food from the Red Cross is being sold on the black market to those few North Koreans with the money to buy. The label here reads, "A present from America." But children go empty-handed, as the secret pictures reveal. Before Anchol began his trip to North Korea, he talked about the children.
Those children don't know about the international aid. The aid doesn't reach the people, but it's channeled to the military. The people are helpless. Our human rights are not respected. It can't go on like this. All I can think about is to continue with my work.
As this film was being made, Anchol's fate was still not known. It was feared he'd been detained or even executed in North Korea. But we still had his pictures of North Korean children. Children he wanted the world to see.
Next on the Discovery Times channel, hardline policies with a nuclear North Korea may be bringing America face to face with the unimaginable. Meet the key players in this dangerous game of chess. Nuclear Nightmare, Understanding North Korea, next.